you that phone?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Hot Tag here on this Flashback Friday. We apologize for being a couple minutes late here. Had a little bit of a issue with some power outages because we have a storm here, which seems like we have a storm every day. But yeah, don't get me started on that. Anyway, I am Jeff Watson, and we have the wonderful, the awesome Brandi Smith in the house. Brandi, how are you?
I'm good, guys. Hello, my voice is back, and it's a hot tag tonight. So I hope everybody's ready. I hope you're ready with your comments and your questions. And as always, we will get those as we go through the show. Okay. All right. I got a community member to call out tonight.
Uh
Mr.
oh.
Mr.
Uh
Mike
oh.
Lister. I asked you guys a trivia question in the Facebook group yesterday just to have a little fun, and I said, "Okay, wait till the stream to answer it, and you can be the first one to ask us a question." And you shouted it out, Mike, in the middle of the Facebook group. So, Jeff, give me a sound.
I'm gonna give you a sound here. What do you need? A sad something or like a joke horn or something
Give me
like
like a
that?
wah wah wah.
How about this one? If I can get it to play here.
There you go, Mike. That's for you, buddy. you you know I
There we
love you.
go.
Um, and
So
thank you
so
to
Brandy,
yeah.
Brandy.
What
Who are we talking about today?
we're talking
Just
about the
curious.
Macho Man.
Um, okay. Well,
Let me
let's.
hear you say, oh, 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 oh. Stand back. Macho Man. Dig it, dig it. Macho Man. Dig it, dig it. Macho Man. Dig it, dig it. That gets my heart pumping. Get your heart pumping. He gets the party jumping. He's a macho man.
All right.
I
Let's
love
get
it.
into it.
I love it. Let's get this party started. We have some new community members in the Facebook group too, and I promised one of them I would give them a shout out. So, Craig, I'm giving you a shout out, buddy. Hope you're doing okay tonight. And
Shout out
we're
to
talking.
you.
Yes, thank you. We are talking about the Macho Man tonight, and there's a few trivia things that I think everybody may not know. And when I dove into this, it was a deep dive. So we're going to start off with the Macho Man's father, Angelo Poffo. He was a wrestler, so that makes Macho Man and the genius Lanny Poffo, both second generation wrestlers. Angelo Poffo holds the Ripley's Believe It or Not record for sit ups. He did like
For sit ups.
6,000. Yeah, he did like 6,033 in like 4 hours.
Good grief.
I know. Can you imagine? I may not have
That's a
done.
lot. My stomach hurts. My
I don't
stomach
think
hurts
I've
right
done that
now
many my whole life.
just thinking about it.
So I thought that was really
Me
cool.
either.
Uh, Macho Man Randy Savage or Randy Poffo started out in baseball. He did not start out to be a professional wrestler like his father. He wanted to play pro ball. He played ball in high school. He played in the minor leagues, and that's actually how he got his name, Macho Man. Like, I was thinking about it last night, and I was like, "Is it from the Village People song? Where'd he get it from?" But apparently, that was a popular term in the '70s, and so when he was playing, fans would hold up signs that said Macho Man, and they were talking about Randy. So things didn't exactly work out how he wanted with baseball. And so he began training to be a wrestler. He decided he wanted to be a wrestler like his father. And his brother, in interviews, Lanny Poffo, has said that once baseball was over, it was over. He was 100% focused on wrestling. And so he joins this kind of outlaw promotion that his dad started in Kentucky. And uh, they're considered kind of an outlaw because they don't necessarily, cooperate with the other uh, factions or wrestling organizations out there. But they end up kind of in a feud with the Tennessee territory, which we know is um, Jeff Jarrett, Jerry the King Lawler, um, and he gets into this feud with Jerry the King Lawler, kind of starting out, and I cannot imagine just a more amazing partner for him to work with and kind of come up through the ranks. If we could find some of those old matches, that would have to be just fantastic watching the Macho Man and Jerry Lawler go at it. What do you think, Jeff? Jeff?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I absolutely love the Macho Man. So any more that I can see of him is definitely something I need in my life. I want to shout out a few people though. Before we keep going further here. So famous KJ Carter, Days fan. Oh my goodness, you changed your name. Wrestling Days fan and Eva Marie have kissed. Wow. Uh,
Days, we gotta
Dave
have
in
a
real life.
conversation.
Uh, Sunny Wolf, how are you? Let's see here. Who else we have in the house? Elijah Savage. That's a very fitting name for
I
this
love it.
episode.
I love it.
James James Chadwick. Nails is in the building. How are you?
Hey,
Let's see who
Nails.
we have here. Jake. Jake is joining us on Twitter. I mean, not Twitter, Twitch. But people can watch us on Twitter too. Jody's in the house. How are you, Jody? And if I missed anybody, I'm sorry. Like I said, we had a little bit of a late start because power. Having some storms in this area, so I apologize. But Brandi, I don't want to interrupt you anymore, so please continue, Macho Man.
Man, I'm on a roll. We got a lot to get through here. Okay, so kind of going along the timeline. Uh, if anybody's curious, Randy and Elizabeth meet in the early 80s in Kentucky. And the story goes they met at a gym. And it was macho love at first sight. And they end up getting married. I think it's 83 or 84. And he gets a phone call from New York. And so he goes up to the WWF, and he kind of doesn't really start in the lower card. He kind of starts in the mid card of things. And his most famous earlier match, of course, is WrestleMania 3 with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And arguably, a lot of people still feel that that's the best WrestleMania match ever. I don't know if it's better than Steamboat's feud with Ric Flair, but that's where Macho Man really put his mark on the more popular professional wrestling. Is just putting on an absolute classic with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. And Steamboat still tells the story about how Randy came to him, and he's just got pages and pages of notes about how he wants the match laid out, and that's what they did. That's what they did. And I think a lot of people would even go so far as to say that that match eclipsed Hogan Andre. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, that was a great match. I mean, that match is definitely one of my favorite matches of all time. And yeah, I mean, just yeah, I mean, it's just amazing.
That brings me to my
Amazing
next
match.
that brings me to my next topic. Do you guys remember how Miss Elizabeth first was introduced? Does anybody know? Do you know, Jeff?
I do not know. I want you to tell me. How did that happen?
Okay, so there was this little bit of a storyline where it kind of went, who's going to be the Macho Man's manager? And, everybody was speculating, is it going to be Bobby the Brain Heenan? Is it going to be Jimmy Hart? Is it going to be Sherry? Who's it going to be? And so I believe it was on um, Saturday night main event, that he first introduces Elizabeth, and he says, really famously, my new manager is, and she comes out, and it started a revolution. Miss Elizabeth was born, the first lady of wrestling, who laid the groundwork for some of the wonderful women we see today. And so she was with Randy. He um he won the King of the Ring in 1987. A lot of people think that pay-per-view did not start until 92 or 93, but it was more of like a house show kind of event in the 80s. Um, Harley Race had won the year before, so they definitely had the cream of the crop following Mr. Harley Race, the Macho Man. And so he has a huge feud with Ted DiBiase. And legend has it, you ask Macho Man who his favorite to work with was, and he would say Ted DiBiase. And so he starts having this feud with Ted DiBiase, and they end up with a tournament for the championship, and Macho Man wins. Now, along in here, he also has a feud with the Honky Tonk Man, and this is kind of the catalyst for the Mega Powers to form. I have to share this, okay? I can't help myself. Eric Bischoff has said that he would be happy if every day he could fire the Honky Tonk Man. I think that's absolutely fantastic. I would feel the same way. Um, so, Honky Tonk Man at the time was affiliated with the Hart Foundation. Manager Jimmy Hart, and then, of course, the great tag team of Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. So, there's this one match where Honky goes to hit Savage with the guitar. And back then, these are not work guitars, these are shooting guitars. They weren't made of the lighter balsa wood as they are today. And so the Hart Foundation comes out, and they're holding Randy up, and so Honky's going to hit him with the guitar, and all of a sudden Elizabeth gets knocked down. She runs back to the back, and she brings out Hogan. She wants somebody to be able to help Randy. And so they kind of would have something similar happen a few more times on Superstars, on Wrestling Challenge, on Saturday night's main event, where Hogan has to come in and save Randy. And then there's this iconic moment where they're both in the ring, and Hogan extends his hand, and Macho Man takes it, and the Mega Powers are begun. And some of my favorite feuds that they had, I loved the feud with the Megabucks. I loved their feud with the Twin Towers. I thought that was, a huge example of excellent tag team work. But the feud with the Megabucks is what kind of starts the descent between the Mega Powers, and where Elizabeth comes much more into play. There's a match where the Mega Powers are facing the Mega Bucks. It was SummerSlam, and Elizabeth gets kind of roughed up a little bit. Hogan comes down, takes her to the back, and the thing about Randy is he didn't trust anybody with Elizabeth. He made sure that it was planned out step by step. Nobody was going to hurt Elizabeth. And this kind of storyline back then was huge. You know, it's not that uncommon to see it today, but back then it was really groundbreaking because you didn't hit a woman, especially a man hitting a woman. And there's a little
Right.
trivia here. Andre did not like Macho Man. You would mention Macho Man to Andre, and you would hear a little bit of language. But he loved Elizabeth. And here's another thing about the Macho Man. He had this thing about his hair. Now, I would love for somebody to describe to me his hair because he's very sensitive about it. He didn't want anybody to touch it. Apparently, it was very thin, it was falling out. So, here's something else, you guys. He was wearing the bandana long before Hogan was. So, um, he was covering up, you know, where it was kind of thinning out and stuff. And then later, of course, he would wear the crown and then the cowboy hat. But he was very sensitive about his hair. So you guys will have to, you know, comment and tell us what it was like. But Andre, if he was in a match with Randy, he wanted to step on the Macho Man's hair. And Macho Man would tell Bruce Prichard or Vince, he'd say, you don't touch the macho hair. No, you don't. And I love that image in my mind of Andre Macho being in a match and him just standing on Randy's hair, you know, like he would do. He would stand on his opponent's hair. And I love that. I think that's awesome.
That is awesome.
So you have the incident of, you know, Elizabeth being knocked down a couple times, and then you get to Survivor Series that year, and you know you have the heels on one side, the baby faces on the other, and so when their team wins, Hulk kind of Macho's got Elizabeth up on his shoulders, and Hulk kind of puts his hand on Elizabeth supposedly to steady her, but it's not exactly where the Macho Man would want it to go. So that's when he starts to get really suspicious. He's got suspicious eyes and more jealous about where Elizabeth is going to go in all of this. And she ends up being Hogan's manager as well as Macho Man's manager. Okay, so I'm sure that everybody has seen this iconic scene. And if you go back and watch WrestleMania 5 and they do an overcap of the build up to the Mega Powers exploding, the way they tell that story and showcase clips from the build up and promos is absolutely fabulous. So if you want to go back and see images and promos of how this kind of came to be, please go back and watch that. But there's this Saturday night main event, and Elizabeth gets knocked down. They play it like she's unconscious. Hulk goes to take her into the back. He comes back out, goes to tag Macho Man into their match, and Macho Man clocks him. It's a slap heard round the world. And so then you get the scene in the back. And a funny story about that is Hulk's kind of speaking Carney a little bit because he thinks they're at commercial. And he goes to ask, you know, Dick Eversole, he goes, brother, is it Tizime? Dick Eversole didn't know what Carney was. And so the cameras are going for a few seconds while Hulk is still speaking Carney. So I think that's something about that promo that a lot of people don't know. But I love that. I love that image of Hulk speaking Carney to Dick Eversole. Um, so Elizabeth is in the back. She's on the gurney. She's laid out, and Macho Man comes in flying. You know, he thinks Hulk has put his hands on Elizabeth one too many times, and he says, you know, he points his finger at Hulk and he says, "You got jealous eyes. You got lust in your eyes." And he clocks him with the belt. And Hogan to this day says that gave him a concussion. I don't know if that's true or not. And then, of course, you have the hero of all heroes coming out, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and he's going to save the day, right? What's he going to do? Cut Macho's hair? He's going to give Liz a trim while she's knocked out. So that really sets up the build to WrestleMania 5. And if you look at the numbers from WrestleMania 5, it's the biggest WrestleMania until you get to 98 or 99. Can you imagine that nothing would surpass those numbers for 10 years?
It's unbelievable.
Is absolutely unbelievable. So WrestleMania 5, it's at Trump Towers for the second year. Um, you have uh, amazing alumni of the business like the Red Rooster himself, Mr. Terry Taylor. You have the Ultimate Warrior against Ravishing Rick Rude. You have, let's see, it was the Twin Towers against what? The Hart Foundation? So, and of
Believe
course,
so.
the biggest match on the card is Macho Man finally facing Hulk Hogan. And the interesting thing about this is Liz would normally come down with the Macho Man, but she did not in this instance. She came down, Hulk came down, and she came down to Macho's music, but alone, and she would be in a neutral corner. And I have a question here. What do you guys think? What's the best move? The elbow off the top or the leg drop? What do you guys like best?
Let's see what folks say here.
I want to know what they have to say.
Just waiting on everybody to give us some give us some answers here. Couple other people in the chat here. Wrestling fan, hello. Aiden Garrett. Let's see who else we have here. Sean, how are you? Let's see here. Let's see what people are saying. All right, so we've got Sonny saying leg drop, I think. Eric Haberman says leg drop. James Chadwick says elbow. Dave in Real Life says elbow off the top for sure, Bailey style. LOL.
Dave, I love you.
Hayden Garrett says flying elbow drop. And Wrestling Days fan just says I don't know.
Good Lord. Okay. Wrestling Days fan, are you still mad at me? Don't be mad. It's okay. I got to defend my co-hosts. But okay, I got to say the elbow off the top because he would just come off with such force. And to be able to successfully do that and not injure your opponent or yourself, I think is a huge, huge statement of what a worker he was in the ring. And he rarely hurt anybody. It was more often that he might break a rib, than hurt his opponent doing the flying elbow. I mean, he would come off the top with everything he had, and he did it every time. Every time. And so they go back and forth in the ring, they're kind of, act a little reluctant a couple times, I think. And then eventually, what do you get? You get the big leg drop. Hogan wins. Hogan must pose. Macho loses the title. And they continue the storyline with Elizabeth, with her coming down with Hulk and with Macho Man. What do you guys think? You have any questions? You have any comments?
They sure did. Well, Days fan says he's not mad at you for now. So there's that.
Thank you, Days fan.
Nell says he was always mad at someone. He wouldn't be him if he wasn't.
Absolutely.
And maybe that was about Days fan, but I think she's talking about Macho Man.
Yeah. And I want to talk a little bit about, what do you guys like better? Do you like heel Macho Man or do you like babyface Macho Man?
That's a really good question.
That's a tough
Which was your
question.
favorite, Brandi?
I can't choose. I'm in the middle. I love them both. That's like
There was
asking
just
who do you
something
love.
about heel. There was something about heel Macho Man that was just unhinged, and I really like it. Nell says babyface all the way. I like Wedding Day Macho Man.
Yes.
KJ Carter says Brandy is Miss Elizabeth known as the first lady of WWF.
They used to call her the first lady of wrestling.
Yep, we got Hayden Garrett saying heel Macho Man. James Chadwick says I love both. Sean Rousset says both. Uh, yeah,
I love it, you guys. So it's kind of all tied up. It seems like, you know, heel Macho Man, babyface, or both. I love it. And here's a few things I want to talk about the Macho Man too. You can't talk about the Macho Man's in-ring work without talking about his promo skills. The thing I loved about the Macho Man is, I don't know if you guys have just paid attention to this or if you just, just attribute it to the Macho Man himself, but he would always walk around during his promos. And do you guys remember, especially in the 80s, when he would kind of tiptoe around the ring with one arm up and a finger in the air? Do you guys remember that? Do you remember that, Jeff?
yes, I do. I remember that.
That is classic Macho Man. And, I don't think Gene Okerlund did a Macho Man promo where you didn't get a freak out, or a dig it. I mean,
That's right. Dig it.
he made himself as big as Hogan, even though he wasn't physically. He made himself, to me, bigger than the Ultimate Warrior, even though he wasn't physically, because he had the charisma and he had the willingness to build a phenomenal, unforgettable, arguably top 10 all time wrestling character. I want to tell you a little bit about
Yeah.
his outfits too. Um, it's so legendary that Ric Flair has spent thousands and thousands of dollars on his robes. Well, rumor about Macho Man is he's a little bit of a tightwad, but he spends the money on his look. He had a designer that would put his boots together, his trunks, if he wore a jacket, obviously later on the cowboy hats. But he would buy 4, 5, 6 at a time, and you're talking about spending several $1,000s. So he knew that that was an essential part of his character. And my opinion is that, remember in the 1980s day glow? Remember those really bright colors? They called them day glow.
Yeah.
I think that was created just for the Macho Man. I mean,
Well,
just
I have
saying.
I have a picture of him up on the screen right now where he has a jacket with sequins on it, and the same thing with his hat, which is freaking awesome.
That is awesome.
He's got some orange in there and all of that. So yeah, I absolutely loved his attire, his ring attire, and
Yes.
his entrance. I mean, it was so grand and everything. Even at all times, not just when he was the Macho King, but
Right.
at all times he was just. I mean, he was just fantastic. I love seeing what he was going to wear next.
And his glasses always matched. His boots said Macho Man. He apparently he used to go out and party a little bit with Bruce Pritchard, and Bruce would say, if you wanted to know Macho Man's name, he'd say, first name Macho, last name Man. Just look at my boots. and, and he would dress like that in public. It wasn't
I believe it.
just in the ring, he or promos, he would dress like that in public, which I love. If you're brave enough to go out like that, you're a real man.
That's right.
And so we get to arguably one of the things that Macho Man is most famous for. There's another King of the Ring, and this is not yet, like I said earlier, not yet a pay-per-view, but it's still a huge house show event. It's, if they decide to put it on Superstars or Wrestling Challenge or um, Saturday night's main event, it's a huge deal, and it's something that Vince McMahon came up with, and Macho Man wins. This brings him into being King Macho Man. And so they decide to take Elizabeth away. She's going to spend a little time away. And they put him with sensational Sherry. And so they kind of try to have this little bit of a feud with Sherry and Elizabeth. There's this story that Macho Man is coming into where the event is, and one of the bookers goes up to him and says, "Hey, Macho, the plan is for Sherry to knock Liz out tonight." And, Bruce Pritchard is kind of trying to come up and diffuse the situation, and Macho's like, not tonight, not ever, not gonna happen. And he goes to see Vince. And so Sherry's crying. She said, "I don't want to hit Miss Liz. I don't want to hit Miss Liz." And Macho's like, "Vince, not ever, not tonight, not gonna happen. And so Sherry is, still upset. She's crying, and Liz gets in her face, and she's like, "Come on, Sherry, hit me, hit me, hit me." And they go out on the Brother Love show. And I don't know if you remember this, Jeff, or not, but I remember this. So one of the fans throws out a Ziploc bag filled with mayonnaise, and it hits Sherry. But she's still, and it goes all over her chest, all over her outfit. But she's still got to continue this
Yeah.
plan with Liz to clock Liz, right? And so Bruce Pritchard, when he's telling this story, he says he leans down to Sherry and he goes, "Don't you sell it, don't you sell it," talking about the mayonnaise. And he goes, "And when you hit Liz, you lay it in." And she did. But I think in that particular episode, Liz might have given as good as she got. But that's one of my most favorite uh, Brother Love shows ever. When Sherry and Liz get into it, because until then you didn't realize that, hey, Liz is more than a pretty face. You realize that she can take it and she can dish it out.
Yeah. I mean, but Macho Man was so protective of Miss Elizabeth. I mean, he really didn't even want people to look at her sometimes.
Well, I've heard different stories. I've heard some people say, like, and this is well documented on the WWE network. People like Gene Oakland say, "Well, she'd be in the back, in a dress room by herself, and she wouldn't see anybody." Or, somebody else would say, "Oh, he had her in a closet somewhere." But I don't necessarily know if that's true. I don't know if they were just together all the time. They would share a dressing room. And, other people have come out and said, "Hey, Liz can do whatever she wanted to." So I don't know. I think it's more of just kind of how you remember it is how it was.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can understand that. I've heard other wrestlers before say, "Hey, the number one rule in wrestling is don't bring your wife around the boys." So
Yeah, that's a saying that's out there.
maybe that's a little bit about where Macho was coming from. So the next big thing that comes along for Macho is the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes, and Miss Sapphire.
Dusty Rose.
Dusty Rhodes, the most famous athlete in the world. I've heard him say that before. It's so funny. Uh, so this is when you start to get those really great cauldron promos where Sherry's at the cauldron and she's saying, "What do I see for Macho Man?" or "What do I see for Dusty Rhodes or Sapphire?" And I think those promos are some of the most iconic of Sherry's work. And the entire time she was a manager, she was a wrestler, whatever. Um, a lot of people remember her, just looking into that cauldron. And um, Dusty and Macho Man, I think they worked really well together. Macho Man loved working with Dusty. Dusty loved working with Macho Man. And there's this story about one night. Randy didn't really have anything written down, but he wanted to talk to Dusty about how their match was going to go. And so he tells everything to Dusty, and Dusty kind of doesn't say anything. So he's just kind of standing there waiting, and Dusty says, would you tell Babe Ruth how to hit a ball? And Macho says to Dusty, he said, well, Babe, this is what we're doing tonight. So that's one of my favorite stories about Macho Man and Dusty working together. And you have the iconic polka dots, you have King Macho Man, you have Queen Sherry, and you have the wonderful Miss Sapphire, and that equals wrestling gold.
Yes.
Like I said, they enjoyed working together, and their biggest match arguably is the one where Elizabeth is in Dusty's corner and in Sapphire's corner, and they have the match. They go back and forth. They go back and forth, and in the end, Elizabeth helps her man, and there's this iconic reunion in the ring. And at this point, this is kind of really when their marriage in real life is falling apart, but it's when they're really coming together professionally. And people in the crowd were crying, thank God he finally got his girl back. And rumor has it that they were both really crying in the ring too, as well, because the emotion of the moment was so powerful.
Yeah, I remember that moment as a kid, and no joke, I look over at my mom and she's crying. Like that.
The
That's
Yeah,
how special that moment was.
and I don't think Dusty could have been more proud to be part of that. I really don't. He, like I said, he loved working with Macho Man. Macho Man loved working with him, and you had one of the most iconic reunions in wrestling history. Next, of course, Macho Man
Absolutely.
moves. Next, of course, Macho Man moves on to Jake the Snake. Uh, how are we on time, Jeff?
We're at 6:27, so you're good. You're good.
Okay, so Macho Man ends up in a feud with Jake the Snake, and
Oh yes.
there is not a more heelish character in wrestling history than Jake the Snake. So, does anybody remember the match where the snake bites Randy?
I do.
Do you remember? Do you remember? And there was blood. There was
Yeah.
blood dripping down, right? Well, this is what
Yes.
happened. They were in the back, and they were getting ready for this match. Working on the build and everything. And so Macho asked Jake. He said, "Is it going to hurt?" That's all he wanted to know. He didn't want to know he was gonna, you know, if he was going to die from the snake bite. He wanted to know if it was going to hurt. And so Jake kind of shows him. He picks up the snake, and snake bites him, and it doesn't really do anything, it doesn't hurt or anything. So what Jake does before this match, he said he did everything he could think of to make this snake mad. And so they go out there and they have the match, and it comes time for the snake to bite Macho, and it would not let go. And there's blood dripping down. And after the match, he goes backstage, and he's cussing at everybody. Jake, what the hell? You know. So if I could be backstage for one thing, I think that would probably be it. I think that would probably be it. I would want to be backstage when Macho goes after Jake for that snake bite.
Yeah,
If
that
you
was.
guys haven't seen that, look it up on YouTube.
Go
Okay,
check it out.
go check it out. And
Yeah.
Jake was not a fan of snakes himself. He just got stuck with the gimmick, but it didn't end up for a good night with Macho. That's for sure.
A little bit of backstage heat,
A
possibly.
little bit. Okay, so everybody knows that we end up with a SummerSlam wedding. But does anybody remember the proposal? Do you remember?
Yes, I remember. I know we got
As
some people in the chat that remember too.
as a little girl, I remember watching this and I thought Miss Elizabeth was a Barbie doll. I thought she looked like a Barbie doll, and Macho Man's down in the ring on one knee. Elizabeth, will you marry me? And she waits for a minute, and she goes, "Oh yeah!" And it's the
That
biggest
was awesome.
moment in wrestling history up until that point. That was bigger than Hogan Andre. That was bigger than Savage Steamboat. She said yes. And watch out, Nikki
Another
and John
moment when
Cena.
my
I'm
mom
sorry.
cried.
I'm sorry, but Liz and Macho got you beat. I cried, and I was a kid. So, what do you guys in the chat? What do you have to say about that moment?
Johnny says the snake as a present was legendary.
Absolutely.
Sonny says there was a wedding. Yes, Sonny, there was. It was glorious.
Sonny, baby, how old are you?
She's younger, so we can
We got to send you
go
some
take a
iconic
look
moments.
at YouTube.
We got to send you some iconic moments to watch, Sonny. Yes.
Absolutely.
It may be the only time that there was a wedding as a main event at SummerSlam. But
Sonny says she's 19, Brandy.
oh honey, I wish I was 19 again. Go back on YouTube and search SummerSlam, Miss Elizabeth Macho Man wedding, and you will be entertained. Let me promise you. So the wedding is scheduled to be the main event for SummerSlam. And you got to have huge respect for Randy and Elizabeth. Their marriage is falling apart in real life, but their characters on screen have never been more in love and more together. And so, they have this wedding dress made for Elizabeth, and, Macho Man, he's got the white outfit, he's got the white hat, and they have this wedding. And then where else would the reception be but on the Brother Love show? And so there's the red carpet and there's presents all around and there's the cake, and everybody's so excited because you're going to get to see Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth celebrate their love at the reception. And I don't know why you would have a reception on the Brother Love show, but that was WWF in the early 90s. And so they go to open this one present, and what pops out, Jeff?
Maybe a snake.
Maybe
Possibly.
a snake? Possibly? Yes. The snake
Possibly.
jumps out of the box, and Elizabeth screams, and it's this huge moment. And Jake the Snake comes running in, and then you have Sid Justice coming out trying to save the day. And I swear this is the only time you will ever hear this in wrestling. Macho Man going, "Thank God for Sid Justice." Those words were never uttered again, I promise you.
No.
No, especially not from Double A, that's for sure. But but that's how it ends. Macho Man saying, "Thank God for Sid Justice." I want to have plenty of time for
Oh
comments.
my good. Johnny. Okay.
No, go
Johnny
ahead.
Bates says, as if Bully Ray and Brooke Hogan was a classy wedding. Yeah, about that.
Wait. When did that happen? TNA?
In Impact TNA. Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah,
I gotta
back
look.
when
I gotta look that up. or
Um,
the Hunter Stephanie wedding. You know.
yeah, the drive-through.
Yeah, exactly.
So Days fan has completely changed his name now to Eva Marie is my love life, and he says to tell you that Lana and Lashley's wedding was better. Um, listen,
Days, look,
I've got
okay, Days
something
fan.
for you.
Days fan, I'm a shoot counselor. Do you need a therapy session? Elbow off the top rope. Um, so I want to go over with you guys. This is the legendary Macho Man's career. Okay, he had this amazing match with Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3. He wins the title at WrestleMania 4. Has one of the most iconic matches in WrestleMania history at WrestleMania 5. He continues with Dusty at WrestleMania 6. Will continue WrestleMania Jake the Snake, and continues to have these iconic matches through most of the first 10 years of WrestleMania. He faces Warrior at what, 7, and then unfortunately Crush at 10. I mean, you cannot say WrestleMania, especially in the first 10 years of the event, without mentioning the Macho Man. I think there's a good case to be made for Shawn Michaels as Mr. WrestleMania, but is Macho Man King WrestleMania? He was in more
Mm.
WrestleManias, I believe, than Hogan. I could have my numbers wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're
He
equal.
was money.
He was money, baby. And a lot of people can ask, well, did Hogan draw more than Macho Man as champion? But I don't think so. I don't think so. I think Macho Man was a draw every day of the week and twice on Sunday.
Agreed.
So,
Agreed. Macho was money.
so Shawn Michaels, I love you, but I think Macho Man might be king WrestleMania.
Yeah, Dave in real life says that Randy Savage was a 5-star Mania star.
Absolutely, absolutely. And he continues to have these great feuds, but what kind of stumped me about this whole issue, you go later to WrestleMania, and you know that, okay, Rock, Austin, you had those guys 3 times. So why do you think we never saw Macho Man and Hogan again?
Hmm. Why didn't we get that?
I don't know, but
That's a
it's
great question.
we got it again, of course, in WCW, but Vince had no way to know that that was coming back then. I think
Yeah.
it would have been more money, more money, more money.
Yes, absolutely. Tons of it. They could print it at
Absolutely.
that point.
Yes. Yes. And arguably the
Nell says
WWE.
Hogan doesn't like putting people over? Question mark.
No. But, it still could have been a great match even if Macho lost. I don't think he really cared about wins and losses. He just cared about how many zeros were at the end of his check. But here's the thing
Yeah.
about Hogan back then too. Vince had this rule, Hogan must pose. So he had to come out on top somehow, by the end of the match. So he could, do his thing, walk around the ring and hold that hand up and hear those Hulkamaniacs go wild. And, I don't necessarily know if they would have, this is just speculation on my part, but if WWF would have had as many money troubles, in the early 90s to mid 90s, if maybe they had done more with Hogan and Savage on top.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they didn't have more dealings.
No, I don't either. Um,
I don't know why they didn't do more business.
so many people make such a big deal about Macho and Hogan being friends, and then they're not friends. But it wasn't until the angle with Elizabeth that they really became close, as legend would have it. um, Macho Man and Elizabeth legit get divorced in the early 90s, and that sows a little dissent between Hogan and Macho Man, because Elizabeth is friends with Linda Hogan, and so she goes and spends some time in their home, and everything just goes downhill for that relationship. But at this point, they're both able to work together and make wrestling magic. In later years of Macho Man's tenure, Vince wanted to kind of bring forward the new generation. Your Bret Hart, your Shawn Michaels. And unfortunately, Macho Man got kind of put to the side and put on the commentary table. But if you go back and listen to some of the early Raws, he does some amazing commentary, and arguably better than what Vince McMahon himself does. He's amazing at telling a story to me in a commentary booth. And to me, I don't think Raw would have been necessarily what it was in the beginning without Macho Man on the mic.
Completely agree with
But
that. Completely agree with that.
yes, absolutely. If you guys haven't heard Macho do commentary, please go back and listen to it. Um, Also, around this time, Macho Man gets the deal with Slim Jim. They wanted an iconic figure to help sell their product, and they thought Macho Man was the one to do it, and he did. I don't think anybody can tell you that they don't remember a Macho Man commercial going, snap into a Slim Jim. But unfortunately, also during this time with WWF, Macho Man doesn't feel that he's done. He doesn't want to remain at the commentary desk. He pitched a plan to Vince and to Bruce Pritchard and some of the other backstage producers. Let's have a year feud with Shawn Michaels and build it to WrestleMania. And it's not where Vince wanted to go. And Macho Man thought it would have been, just absolutely fantastic. And ultimately, he decides that he's not ready to be put on the shelf, and he makes the move to WCW. And there's this iconic moment on Raw where Vince, and I don't think you can say that he's done this for many other people, if any, where Vince gets on the microphone and says, "Thank you to the Macho Man for the years of service. We appreciate you and we wish you all the luck in the world." And then, unfortunately, Macho Man is wiped from the face of the WWF and the WWE until he goes into the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
And then on our next episode, you guys, we will cover Macho Man and WCW. Don't think we're not going to go there, because I can't wait. I can't wait, you guys. I love WCW Macho Man. To me, he's just as good, if not better, in this season of his life than in WWF as Macho Man. And he really, really turns things up a notch when he heads to WCW. Do you have a
Absolutely.
favorite?
Absolutely. We got a few people.
Let me ask you.
I was just going to say, we've got a few people in the chat saying they're talking about his appearance in Spider-Man as Bonesaw.
I don't think I saw
Bonesaw
that.
is ready.
I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, it was the opening scene, I believe, and he was in the 2002 edition of Spider-Man, the movie, and he looked pretty doggone jacked, and yeah, he was awesome
See, I've
as
seen that.
Bonesaw.
But nobody told me, hey, Brandy, that's Macho Man. See, I need you guys with me to watch movies, and you can tell me important things like this. But do
Yeah, I
you
mean, he
have a
was.
wow? I love it. Do you have a favorite Macho Man feud or opponent in his time of WCW?
In WCW?
Yeah.
Hmm. Trying to think here. Anytime he did anything with Sting,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I just, I, yeah, I mean, those two together, whether they were together or at odds, just give me more of them on my screen because, yeah, it was amazing. Nell said to tell you to rewatch that Spider-Man movie, and
Yes,
she was like,
ma'am.
"You," she said, "You." She said, "She will kick herself thinking it's obvious." So,
You're probably right. I was much younger then, so you're probably right, Nails. But I just have to go ahead and say we're going to talk about this next week. And look, guys, don't give me a hard time for this, please. But I'm sorry, Macho Man DDP. I absolutely loved it.
yeah, yeah, they did some good business together.
Absolutely, and in that
So,
period of time, I think Macho Man, he loved building people up. He loved putting people over, and I think he really made a difference in DDP getting to the heights that he got to.
yeah. Yeah, and you know what? I don't know if a lot of people in our chat know this, and I don't know if you're going to talk about this very much next week. But Macho Man actually had a rap career,
Yeah, this is true.
and we might have a song right here to
Mr.
play.
Perfect's the name, it'll never be forgotten. As long as Macho's around, I'ma keep your spot in wrestling history, cause you were all about perfection. It's not a mystery that wrestling was the right selection.
Little Macho Man rap career right there.
And who can tell us what that song was about? Can anybody in the chat?
Let's see. Let's see if we can get. Let's see if people actually listened and can tell us who he was talking about.
If you
Sonny
guys
says
can
that was
tell
a
us,
groovy music.
if you guys can tell us who he was talking about, you can be the first to make a comment or ask a question next week.
Hogan was not it.
Heck
We
no.
we got a guess from Nails there.
Y'all
Hogan
are
was
gonna
not
make me
it.
curse.
To get out the censor button.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sean got it right. Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig.
Good job, Sean. Good job. Okay, you can be the first to make a comment or a question next week, whatever you want to do. So be thinking about that Macho Man WCW run, okay?
They want to hear a little bit more of it, so I'm gonna start it back.
Mr. Perfect's the name, it'll never be forgotten. As long as Macho's around, I'ma keep your spot in wrestling history, cause you were all about perfection. It's not a mystery that wrestling was the right selection.
So there you go. There's a little bit more of it.
I love that.
So guys, we have about 10 minutes left. So let's open it up for some questions for Brandy, um, and see what you guys have for Brandy. Nell says it sounds
Freak
like
out.
Justin Timberlake in the background.
No, I wonder who that was. I don't think it was Justin Timberlake, though, was it?
No, I don't know who it was, but I actually like it. We got Sonny Wolf saying that's some groovy music. It absolutely is. Okay, so Dave's fan says he has a massive question for Brandy. Okay.
Yes,
What
sir.
is it, Days? I'm sorry. Eva Marie is my love life. I won't call you Days fan. Eva Marie is my love life. What question do you have? And while we're waiting on that question, just want to say
They,
if you guys haven't
um,
already, please like and subscribe to our YouTube, to Twitch. We're trying to build up our Twitch right now.
the Facebook
Just
group, guys.
follow us everywhere. Yeah,
That's how
Facebook
I can
group.
best communicate
Uh,
with you in between shows.
yes, yes. Chat with Brandi on Facebook. Um, and also, if you want to listen to these episodes on the go, check us out on every single podcast platform that's out there. Because we're there to go and just play these things back. So let's see. James Chadwick
Let me just
says
say,
my dream
Eva
match.
Marie fan. I'm going to shatter your world right now. Okay, she's not a real redhead. Okay, just gonna put that out there in case you didn't know.
All right. Let's see here. So James Chadwick says my dream match would be Macho Man versus AJ Styles. Let's see. Nails at says, if you love, do you love Sherry more than Elizabeth?
I don't know if you can really make a choice that easily because Elizabeth was set up to be the first lady of wrestling. She was not a worker. The bumps she took, they did, very carefully. And you have Sherry, who, if you ran into on a back street somewhere, you're losing that fight. And she could do it all. She could wrestle, she could manage, she could do promos. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily a fair comparison because they're both very two different entities within the wrestling world at the time.
Yeah. Before Eva Marie is my love life sent you some angry faces. He asked, my question is, do you love Goldberg?
I am a fan of Goldberg, but let me qualify that by saying that he played for the Georgia Bulldogs, who is the college football franchise in the great state of Georgia, and I have to love him for that. Sorry, can't help it.
Go Tigers.
I mean, his bulldogdom definitely outweighs the Undertaker match. I'm sorry.
Go
Sorry.
Tigers is all I can say
I
is
hear you, brother.
go Clemson Tigers.
I hear you,
Clemson
brother. But those
Tigers.
bulldogs will give those tigers a chase.
Well, we will have to see about that at some point.
If we
Uh,
have a college football season.
yeah, if we even have a season. Eric Haverman asked, Brandi, when did you get into wrestling and when did you start watching it?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to direct you back to my first Insiders episode. You can hear all about that if you want to re-listen. Um, no, I was a kid. I remember first watching maybe around age 7, and it was something I could do with my dad. I couldn't do really a lot of the physical stuff that he did with my brother and my sister. Like playing ball with them or golf or whatever. But that's a way that we connected was on Monday nights, and I fell in love from there.
There you go. Yeah, and if you want to hear that full interview, just go to our YouTube and look for Brandy's video. Ask Brandi. So
That wasn't
definitely,
Ask Brandy.
she gives you a lot of answers
That
in that.
was an interview that you guys did. It was an interview show
Well, I mean,
when
you
yeah, but it wasn't
you
called
talked
Ask
about it in
Brandy.
Ask Brandy too, though.
Oh, yeah, I guess I did. I'm sorry. I
What?
don't need to argue with my co-host. He's gonna slap me like
It's
Macho
okay.
slapped Hogan.
No, 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 no slapping, no shoot fights.
I'm giving you a
Sonny
hard time,
says,
brother.
"Does Brandy's kid?" Um, let's see. Does your son watch a show called Sophia the First?
He did when he was younger, but not now. He's kind of outgrown Sophia, but he did like it. I liked it.
Yeah, my kids like that show.
Yeah, I
My
liked
younger
Sophia.
two.
He even liked Doc McStuffins, even though he's kind of grown out of that too now. But
Yes.
yeah, and if you want a really annoying song other than SpongeBob, listen to that over and over again. And I'm not even going to talk about
Doc
Baby Shark.
McStuffins.
Yeah.
Oh, please don't. Please don't. I've heard. Listen, between Doc McStuffins, between Baby Shark, and then You're Welcome from Moana, I have those songs memorized word for word. And
And and don't forget
um,
Frozen.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes, yes, absolutely. um, Sonny said Doc McStuffins was interesting. The theme song horrible.
Absolutely horrible. Hey, I dug Doc McStuffins. The little dragon guy was my favorite, but yeah, no theme song.
Yeah, yeah, it was. I just remember singing those things with my kids a lot because my goodness, they loved it. They
Let me tell you
absolutely loved
this quick
Doc McStuffins.
story. I was watching a Medea movie one day. Okay, you guys, I love Tyler Perry. I love Medea movies. And so, of course, I can't see what's on the screen, but I listen very intently to the voices. Uh, and so I'm watching this particular movie, and one of the characters, all of a sudden, I go, as loud as I possibly can. I don't even realize I'm doing it. I'm like, that's the lady from Doc McStuffins. So, there you go.
The lady who plays Hallie the hippo.
Yes. Yes. See, you know what I'm talking
Yep.
about.
Oh, I know. I know. The last question that we're going to take here, and then we're gonna get out. Mike Lister asked. Hi, he says, "Hi, Brandy. What would your
I don't know if
dream
you
make?"
should be allowed, Mike Lister.
Ooh,
You
ooh.
ruined my Facebook trivia. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
Well, first, before I get to that one, Johnny Bates asked, "Do you like Kimberly from
I'm not
Impact?"
familiar. I'm not that familiar with her work. Now she's not a formerly Kimberly Page, is she? Or is she a different character
No,
altogether?
no, yeah,
Okay, I'm not
different. We're
familiar.
getting Brandy into Impact, so we're gonna keep
Yeah, I
going.
mean, I
Um,
can't forget
but
Stang.
yeah, staying.
Stang.
Mike Lister, this is the last one. Hi, Brandy. What would your dream WrestleMania match be involving Macho Man and a current superstar?
Um, I love that. That is awesome. I love that question. Um, this one's coming out of left field, but I think it'd be really cool. I'm gonna go with Samoa Joe.
Ooh, that's nice. I like that. Why Samoa Joe?
It would be a battle of the theme songs, first of all, and because I love Joe's theme song, and of course Macho Man's theme song is iconic. But I just think they would work really well together in the ring, especially if you took it from the perspective of heel versus heel. I think that would be a great match.
Yeah.
And I would love to see Macho Man take that towel and just kind of drape it around himself. That'd be awesome.
Got you. All right, guys. We're right at 7 o'clock. So We're going to end part 1 here. But thank you all for joining us. I apologize for being a few minutes late, but like I said, we had a little bit of weather here. So yeah, we got past that. We got through this awesome show about one of the greatest of all time. So absolutely great that we got a chance to do this. And like I said before, if you haven't already, subscribe, follow us. We're on Twitch, Periscope, YouTube, and Facebook when we stream. So check us out there. You see our schedule on the screen there, but we'll be back Monday for Abby's Window at 6 p.m. Brandi, you got anything you want to say before we go?
Next week, you guys, we're going to cover Macho Man and WCW, and I would like to follow that with Sensational Sherry the next week. So, there's a couple things you guys can think about. Think about your questions, think about your comments for the next couple episodes. And for a book recommendation this week, I'm going to recommend DDP's book. I believe he has a second one that just came out or either is coming out, but I'm talking about the first one.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Well, that's it for us this evening. We will see you again on Monday for Abby's Window, and then again on Tuesday for our Impact Watch Along, and Wednesday for our podcast. Thursday we'll be back, I think, for another top 10 episode. So check us out on Twitch. That show only shows on Twitch. So join us on Twitch. If you haven't created a Twitch account, please do so. And then next Friday we'll be right back here at 6 p.m., maybe a little bit early. We'll definitely let you know, and we'll do part 2 of the Macho Man. So for Brandi, guys, this was fun, and we look forward to doing this again next week. Take care, everyone.